Hello, everyone, and welcome again to KUT's Views and Brews. This evening we'll be discussing Charles Mingus and the art of Enigma. So thanks for coming.
And he goes into great detail about how he was not fully accepted by the white population or the African-American population, how he was really regulated to being liminal, sort of between spaces. And he felt, I think, throughout his life passionately that he was trying to execute his creativity with forms that may not have abided that. You know, he had this tremendous love, and he didn't have a place to put it necessarily. So he invented himself and made a public persona about who he was that both offended and tantalized many, many people. At the same time, he's looking for everything that we're looking for, which is love and attention. And I think his music throughout, and we chose specific pieces to play to highlight that, both the profane and the sacred, which there's not so much of a difference between the two if you really start thinking about it.
I leave my analyst, and I come back to him. I think he's completely off, and I think he's completely right. And remember I told you that this double woman, and all of a sudden I'm saying, Lord, I know I'm wrong? Man, this is the most sincerest album I've done in my life. In fact, I had a feeling I was gonna die, man. Not because I did this album for you. I had a feeling that if I don't pull out of what I'm into, I want to tell you this, man, because maybe I might, that I've been going through a psychological thing or spiritualogical, I don't know which, man. It's trying to reach a contentment and contain myself that I know that you seem to have. I know they can pull you off. Not like when you thought your brother, you get out for a second, but you got this certain thing that you always can call yourself back and say, let me contain myself.
Yes.
Automatically, but no one ever told me that. I never had any. And it's good I talked to you about this. I never had any idea or father image that sit around and was cool about anything.
I'm gonna get me a devil woman, an angel woman don't mean me no good. I'm gonna get me a devil woman, an angel woman don't mean me no good. Cause I'm just a gigolo everywhere I go. Get me a devil woman to get me some dough. Mingus says, creativity is more than just being different. Anybody can plan weird. That's easy. What's hard is to be as simple as Bach, making the complicated simple, awesomely simple. That's creativity. Collective improvisational sense of things, of really having musicians, incredible musicians like what we have tonight, really work themselves out in the music in the time. So it was really bringing your best self to the music at that moment, which is why maybe Mingus isn't done so much now, because it's hard. There's a real tension, I think, that he's holding inside, and really to try to be authentic and true to yourself versus, sort of have to be commercially responsible to make a living. And again, I don't think these are issues that are so foreign to musicians today, even. one of his quotes is, one of the reasons that making music is so difficult is because I'm authentic in each moment, and that moment keeps changing, is what he says. So the truth keeps changing for him. But it is. I don't think he was trying to put something on anybody. This is just who he was. He was larger than life, like him or hate him. Depth of all this stuff, and just I think Mingus was something that maybe we all dream of doing, which is living more than one life in the moment, and just hearing you all bring to life something that's just so deep. Maybe is a good lesson for all of us, is how we live and how we choose to live. Seems to be at the center. It was really a magnetic gravitational pull from so many different folks, again, across class, across economic lines, across race lines, across everything, in the ways that he was trying to show himself and be himself, with time just being one of the ways, is that so many people would come to him and just be in his orbit, and just the way that he was beloved by so many, while at the same time sort of people would scratch their heads at him.
We did on that session, of course, was Mr. Ellington's. And at one point during the session, you couldn't get, he didn't ask anybody to take a solo but him, until Mingus blew up and said, look, man, I didn't come down here just to, but Ellington had so much to say until, we just said, okay, you wrote this and we have to fight for ourselves on the record date. I mean, you had to fight for position, because he just, and at one point during the session, and there was a lot of booze there. It was a real celebrative event because critics from all over the world were there, from England. The guy who did his bio was there. A lot of folks were there, and they were sitting around. There was a lot of booze in the studio. And Mingus got kind of tipsy as well as everybody else. And at one point, he blew up at Mr. Ellington and just decided to walk out the studio. I'll never forget this. And Mr. Ellington turned around and looked at me and said, well, I guess it's going to be a duo. So the producer came running out of the booth and said, Duke, please, Mingus is out in the foyer just screaming. Would you go talk to him? So Duke got off the piano, and I followed Duke to talk to Mingus, and he walked up to Mingus and whispered very softly, "You sound beautiful. You sound lovely, Charles." And so Mingus was half drunk now, so tears welled up in his eyes, and he came back in. But it was a great session. All the way it was. You never knew what was going to happen the next second.